I haven't seen you for a while.
And why does Mercedes have two?
Because she's
Because
special.
because I joined on my laptop without video or audio, and then I'm on video on my phone.
No,
That's
we
why.
can see you on both.
Thanks for ruining it, Kelly.
Okay. Well, thanks for showing up on this Boxing Day edition of the Desert Pencil webinar. So what I want to do today is to have a discussion, as I said in the email, just some talking points about what happened in 2025. I'm not going to make a lot of forecasts about 2026. I'm not quite ready to do that. Maybe in the next month or so. What's that?
Maybe in March.
Yeah, maybe in March. But I do want to finish up today talking about just kicking some ideas around about our businesses as well and what we can do to enhance those in 2026. Okay. Now, I do have a handout that I will put in the chat in a minute, but I learned about 2,500 years ago when I started out as an instructor that if you put something in the handout, then everybody, or hand students a handout, everybody just looks at the handout and they don't listen to you, right? Which really is hard on my fragile ego because it is very fragile, as all of you well know. So as I always say, pen and paper, or whatever you want to write with, I have a couple of statistics to give you about 2025, and then I'm going to give a couple little editorial comments, and then we'll kick those around, okay? So these comments, I'm going to start with an aggregate comment, the national scene about housing generally in 2025. And I use all those predicates because, as everybody here knows, real estate is a local sport. It always has been, okay? But in the national front, the national appreciation number for 2025 was just south of 2% for the year. Okay. Now there's little pockets where stuff's going to be more and stuff's going to be less, but in the aggregate, we saw about a 2% overall, actually it's a little bit south of 2% overall rise in home prices in 2025. Okay. That's the first number that I want to give you. Okay. The second number I want to give you is about the Standard & Poor's 500 index, the S&P, that I praise constantly. And before I give you this number, let me tell you why I praise it, okay? So first of all, my praise is over time. It's not just a blip on radars, okay? And the reason that I praise it is because I am a capitalist, even though my people are from Denmark. I am a capitalist, and I believe after all the bullshit and drama and COVID and recession and interest rates and presidents and everything else, that this idea of a capitalist economy where innovation is rewarded and not punished, I'll talk about that before we're done today. This is proven to be one of the amazing wonders of human history, okay? And America is at the center of it. And the S&P 500 index represents the top 500 companies in America. And it rotates. You know, if you suck, they drop you off. Somebody else is awesome, they bring it in. Okay, so it's not a static thing. It's more dynamic, and it's more representative of the economy as a whole. Okay, that's why I'm pretty heavily invested in the S&P with my own money. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But I'll always tell people, you've heard me on this call, especially for kids and retirement money, just put it in an S&P 500 ETF fund and forget about it. Okay? So last year, with dividends reinvested, the S&P returned 20%. Okay? And it's diversified. Okay? It's in equities, but it's very diversified. It's what's called a large cap fund. Okay? 20% is pretty damn good. The average over since 2008, which is the year that I pegged for the retirement worksheet, desertpencil.com/retirement, is 12.8% per year. Okay, so somewhere over time, blended, you can expect to earn about 13% on your money. And what happens is, over time, compound interest grows parabolically. And this is why I stand on the heads of all humans around the ages of 25 and say, I don't care how many Starbucks you want. I don't care how many pairs of new jeans you want. I don't care how drunk you want to get with your friends on Friday night or whatever your thing is. Pay yourself first, because future you will be very happy that you did. Okay? So the S&P returned about 20%. And now I'm going to go to a couple of metals and tell you about why those have been pretty outstanding this year. The first metal is gold, just plain old, generic, not so sexy gold. 71% gain this year. Okay? And even less sexy, plain old, generic silver, up 152% this year.
Good Lord.
Okay?
I got 3 silver bars when my dad passed he had a bunch of coin collecting stuff, and I had these big silver bars, and when we checked into it, they weren't worth a whole lot. So that surprises me.
So just go to SLVR on the Google, and it'll tell you the price per ounce. Okay? Now I always kind of approach getting too specific about the money stuff cautiously. I was thinking about this morning. I want to tell you enough to let you know that I'm just one of you. I'm not some super rich guy. You know, I hate those seminars. I hate those people, because that's not most folks, you know. And I'm like you guys. I might have a little bit more, I might have a little bit less, whatever. But the most important thing to me, the reason that I do this, and I think you know this, I want to say it anyway, is to help you, so that you're in a better position, so that you are getting what you want. Okay? If all I cared about was me, I wouldn't be here right now. Okay? So that said, about a year ago, I went to my neighborhood Costco. And I took a fairly reasonably sort of kind of large amount of money. And I put it down and I said, I want to buy gold and silver. And I did. Costco.
Really?
Yep. That's where I buy metals. And I'm not a big metals guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, look at me. I'm just Mr. Metals. I'm not.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
As soon as I'm done with this part of my sermon, I'd love to answer your question. But here's what I do pay attention to. And I talk to you guys about this. And I've said this a trillion times. Here's a trillion and one. The criminals at the Fed. Okay? What the Fed is doing is they are debasing our currency. I'm an American of Danish descent. And I believe 110,000% in the American economy. No question. I already told you that. Okay? But I've been watching the value of the dollar crumble for the last 20 years. I was thinking this morning, my parents, when they were not even 30, bought a lakefront home. Okay? And my dad sold insurance. He was not rich. Okay? But they were able to do that. Okay? That was not out of the realm of possibility. Okay? In those days, they bought the house in 1964, it was not uncommon for, in a traditional family, a man to go to work, a woman not to work, to have, between 1 and however many kids. And that worked economically. Okay? That does not work economically anymore. Okay? And there's a reason why. It's because there's too much money in the system. Okay? It's just math. I'm okay at math, as you know. So why have I been buying metals? Because metals are the best hedge, excuse me, against inflating currencies. Okay. I had a stockbroker once go, oh, no, we don't buy gold. You can't take gold to the store. You can't eat gold. And I'm like, well, dude, you can't take a stock to the store either. What the hell's the difference? But he did not understand this. That's why he shied away from it. Okay. Now, I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. Not saying that I am. But I do pay attention to certain things in the world. And one of them is the debasing of the currency by the Fed. It's not political. It's math. And that's why I took money that I had available that, by the way, I didn't need today. I'm not going to panic if I lose, and I knew I wouldn't lose it. And that was a good bet. You know? And so I look back then and go, God, I wish I would have put more in that. Well, okay, we could always say that when something good happens. Okay? But here's my message to you. Just a second. Here's my message to you guys. Moving forward, a traditional allocation of assets for people in our age group, the generic, traditional, time-tested, data-proven, is 60% equities, 40% bonds. I'm not talking about real estate right now. I know I'm talking about non-real estate stuff. But the new advice has changed. And the advice is now 60, 30, 10. So even the traditional stock and bond equity financial planner guys are now saying you should own some metals because of currency. It's not even fluctuation, it's devaluation. I mean, it just is what it is. Anytime you have 1,000 of something and then all of a sudden you have 5,000, each unit is worth less. Duh. Chris, you're up. What's your question?
Well, I was just curious. And when you go to Costco to buy metals, do you actually leave with metals or a certificate for metals, or what is?
No, I buy the actual physical metal.
So they go into like their little vault and come out with bullion or something?
They do.
Wow. Really?
They do. Yep.
So
Yep.
Chris is not muted again. Is
Yeah,
there
he's still not muted.
is there I heard about Costco being in the metals game and that they usually only have it for a very short time.
They run
because
out.
So many people rush in and get it.
They run out. Yep.
Yeah.
They run
How
out.
do you know when they have it?
You don't.
Hmm.
It's kind of hit or miss. It's kind of hit or miss.
So once you buy it, what are you just sticking it in a shoebox in your closet, or you put it in a safety deposit box, or how do you handle that?
You think I'm going to tell you where it is on the Zoom call? Are you crazy?
I'm saying generally speaking, not you, but like.
Well, I have a friend, and my friend puts it in his safe deposit box.
Got it.
Yeah. Look, this is not money. Again, I'm not putting in, God, I hope this works because I got a mortgage payment coming up. That's not this money. Okay. But, you know, here I am at 63 going, yeah, I mean, they were telling me this when I was 23. I wish I would have done more of it. It's more of a long-term thing, you know. And look, given my situation that some of you know about, Christ, I could be dead tomorrow. Well, somebody's going to get a stick of gold and be happy that they did. Okay, they win. But I'm just saying, you guys, this is a thing. And the numbers are in for 2025. Silver went up 152%. Real estate went up 2%. That's just the way it is. Okay? And it's not that way every year. But that's the way it was this year. Okay? And I'm always like the don't just tell me what, tell me why guy. Well, the reason is because currency markets are going, geez, Federal Reserve Bank, what are you guys doing? That's why the metals are going up. Okay? People much smarter than all of us.
When you walk into Costco, what's the smallest piece of gold you can buy?
1
And
ounce.
how much is that?
Right now it's about $4,500
Okay, so you got to be expected to walk in with 5K. Okay.
to buy gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
And silver they sell in 10-ounce bars. And they also sell platinum.
Do you get an armed escort out of the Costco when you buy these?
No, but I was looking around.
I mean, is it conspicuous, or is this like really discreet?
It's fairly conspicuous. I did not stop and get a hot dog. I went from the cage to the car.
Get the hot dog first.
Yeah, get the hot dog first. Exactly.
Maybe you get your concealed carry permit before you roll up to Costco for a couple gold bars.
You can participate in the in the metals markets as well through ETFs.
You can. Yeah.
It's a lot easier. You don't have to store it, and
Yeah.
Now, I know you guys are real estate people, and I was thinking about this morning. Does it pencil is evolved or has evolved into more of just, I want it to be a discussion about income and wealth. And, you know, the product that most of you work in was not in favor as an investment in 2025 compared to other investments. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying real estate's bad, but this is what happened last year in a buy and hold scenario. Okay. Now, the other thing, to Jeff's point, I want to just quickly mention this. If you learn more about metals and you're really into it and you think they're going to go up in value, one of the things to look at very closely is not owning the hard asset or owning the ETF, but actually looking at buying the mining stocks. And here's why. Let's say that, I'm just going to pick simple numbers. Let's say that I own a mining company, and let's say that it costs me $50 to get an ounce of silver out of the ground, and I can sell it for 100. I'm the mining company. Okay, so the company sells it to the market, right? We all know it's a mineral, it comes out of the earth, all that kind of stuff. So my cost of goods sold, if you will, is $50. Well, if that price of silver goes from 100 to 200, I'm not making $150 in profit, I'm making 150. And that's called earnings. And that's what drives stock prices commonly, just like cap rate drives prices on real estate investments. So if you are bullish on metals, take a look at the stocks and the companies that mine them. And if you really want to get crazy, learn how to trade options. Okay. I'm going to stop there for just a second. And I'm going to make a couple of recommendations, which you may or may not do, but I'm going to recommend it anyway, okay? I have always been a believer in a diversified financial life, okay? I don't just get money from one place, and I've just kind of always been this way. I've always had side hustles ever since I was like 11, okay? And it's served me pretty well, partly because, you know, sometimes shit doesn't work and the other stuff takes up the slack. So there you go. If you don't know anything about stock investing at all, or if you don't own any stocks, I think you should buy some. And if you know nothing at all and don't care, I just want to set it and forget it, open a brokerage account somewhere. I'm a Schwab guy. You guys know that. And just put your money in an ETF in the S&P 500. Okay? And that goes for retirement money as well as non-retirement money. And I say again, before I take my last breath, Kelly, stand on the heads of your children, your grandchildren, and get them to start doing this. This is a good habit.
I know. My 19-year-old grandson, who is making really good money now as a server in a restaurant, bought a whatever the game system is, the hottest one, for his 8-year-old brother, $500. And I'm like, oh my God, he could have put that $500 in an investment account and he spent it on his brother. Jeez.
Well, Amazon has returns until January 31st, so do the intervention as required.
Try to pry that out of the 8-year-old's hands. Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah.
Well, you know what the game is, Kelly? The game is learn to be an investor, and then if you want to take the money from your profits.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's the one I worry about. I need to work with him.
You will.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe. A lot of the performance of the S&P 500 this year can be tied to tech and to this burgeoning AI and everything around it.
They call them the Magnificent Seven. It's about a third of the S&P.
At the end of the day, what is your take on all this noise about the AI bubble?
Well, Jeff is probably better suited to answer that since he lives in AI town. But I will give you two sides of the coin. Well, three sides. Okay. First side is this: it's not leaving. Okay. It's not like beta. It's not like the pet rock. It's not going to fade away. It's going to stay around. Okay. The good news, I think, and what do I know? It's been really good for the stock markets, for the general economies. We needed something new. I mean, this capitalism is based on growth. This is what gave us the growth. It might have been something else, but this did. Otherwise, some people say would have been a pretty bad recession. I mean, I don't know. So it served its purpose. I think the bad news is there's some things going on with AI, and I would tell you specifically if I could remember them enough to repeat them, but I'll put it this way. This I do remember. The guy that wrote the book The Big Short. You guys seen that movie or heard of it? Okay, there's a guy that wrote that book. And the guy that was the weird doctor guy, the guy that was Batman, remember
Burry.
who?
Michael Burry.
Okay, so Burry is the guy, not the actor, but the actual guy who was the physician, and he is shorting AI about a year out. He thinks it's going to collapse. And one of the reasons is because there's a lot of incestuous transaction stuff going on between ChatGPT, NVIDIA, Microsoft. They're making deals with all these zeros behind them, and they don't have the money. See, a lot of stock market performance is based on expectation. You hear that? Earnings beat expectations or miss them. This is what's fueling the market. And in my cynical but pretty honest view, why is the Dow at almost 45,000? Because there's that much currency in the system, which again debases the currency. So, what are you going to do? This is why I like the idea of diversifying. Look, I don't like losing money. I lost a lot of money when the stock market went down in 2021. I've made it all back and a ton since then, but did I like the ride down? Of course not. Nobody does. So would I put all my money in NVIDIA today? No. But I know people who do. Whatever. Nothing goes up forever. I've sold pretty large amount of stock last week because I need to offset some losses that I had, and because I think certain things are just they've run well and I'm good and I'm not going to stick with them. I'll go to the new things that I think are going to start coming on. Like I told you a couple weeks ago, and I told my mom yesterday, I think that looking at energy is a really good thing to do right now because AI is so energy hungry. And we have this grid that everybody says is all broken and stuff. Well, I've been buying companies that make switches and wire and do the work and stuff like that. Those dollars are up 60% this year. And that's not, oh, geez, Joe, you're just so smart. No, I'm not. I just look at the world and go, well, this is what's going on. Here's the bottleneck. Somebody's got to fix it. And if they figure out a solution, they win. That's all it is. It's nothing more than that. It's just like I say, if you can create a buildable lot or put a house on it and convey a fee simple interest by deed, you're going to make money.
Two things. I'm talking to a 9-year-old, my nephew's son, Christmas Eve, and he's talking all about, he's one of those mini genius kids, but telling me things about AI that I have absolutely no clue about. If it's in that generation that thickly, it's not going anywhere. Second thing, if you look at the bottom of our screens, it says AI companion on here. I mean, it's even on our Zoom. It's everywhere. The question is if once it becomes so fluid throughout everything, is it like the big screen TVs that used to be $5,000 and now you can get them for 900? That's going to be the thing, is if it becomes so massively
norm.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
the norm.
massively produced, then it won't be as expensive to get it as it is currently.
Well, you can get AI for free.
Well, yeah, right. But I mean, so where's the money in investing in AI?
So the money is going to be in creating efficiencies. This is all digital stuff. This is not a place to live. This is not something to eat. This is not clean water. This is not transportation. This is moving ones and zeros through the air more efficiently. I mean, it just is what it is. Okay. I mean, I said in 1997, I don't know a lot about it. I mean, if you got in for $200, you won. I don't know a lot about it. I'm gonna need to learn more. I own some Dogecoin. I kind of jumped in and jumped out of that, made a little sweet profit, but I don't know a lot about the cryptocurrencies. But those aren't going to go away either. You know, that's where we do something called a SWOT analysis, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal, opportunities and threats are external. I think the challenge with digital currency is going to be governmental adoption. And I just think it's going to take some more time. And I don't know. It's like anything. You hear pro, you hear con, you go, what's the deal? But yeah, it's not going anywhere. And so to your point, Christine, yes, there's so if you look at a product adoption cycle, they kind of go like a bell curve, right? So like we're on the way up now and we're going like this. That's when things go up. Then they flatten off at adoption, and then they tend to go down at maturation. Okay. I am coming to you today from a ThinkPad laptop computer, which I bought for probably about $2,000 about 5 years ago. The specifications in this laptop, if you went into Costco today and bought them, you could buy it for about $500 for the same guts. Okay. So that's just the maturation of a technology life cycle. The question I think will become with AI, but I think we've already answered it, is it going to be like Android and iOS or Windows? Is there only going to be like, what's the moat, the M-O-T-E moat? But there's already so many different kinds of AI that you can get. I don't know there's going to be so much of a moat. Okay. All right. I didn't want to go super heavy on any one of those topics, but I want to kind of offer a closing comment as follows. As go the Fed, so go the markets. Okay? That's just the way the world works. And the Fed controls two things through interest rate policy: inflation and employment. And the reason that the Fed is lowering interest rates now is not because of inflation, it's because of employment. Okay? So there are displaced workers. Now, if all you ever listen to is Democrat media, it's going to be, it's all because of the Doge cuts and it's all the displaced governmental workers. Well, if you listen to the opposite media, they're going to tell an opposite story. I don't know what the truth is. But I do know the Fed is lowering interest rates, and what they're saying is it's because of employment, because they want to keep employment up. So in a capitalist economy, what they'll do is they lower interest rates to encourage investment in the private sector. Okay? Historically, classically, that is translated to higher gains in employment. Okay? What I believe right now is we are in a transition about what employment is, and I think the big unknown is what will be the effect of AI. And I was telling my mom yesterday, JP Morgan did a study recently. If we just press stop right now, AI could replace 11.1% of all jobs in the American economy right now today. 11.1 today. Okay, so I think that's the great unknown, is going to be the adoption of AI and its effect on, I keep saying, well, what are all these people going to do? And how are they going to get money? And then you hear people say, that's why we need universal income. Okay, well, but if you're not making something, then what does that become? We're going back to what? Trading bearskins and killing each other?
They need to become plumbers and electricians.
Amen, sister. 100%. But we're in a transition right now, okay? But the known is that the Fed will continue to lower interest rates, okay? That will have a twofold effect on real estate, okay? One effect will be buyers can borrow more money. That's time value of money. That's Does It Pencil Course 1, okay? The inverse effect is it'll increase competition for the same product, which drives the price up. We've seen this. We went to this movie during COVID, right? We know how this goes. So I said 2 years ago, I said a year ago, I'm saying today. If you can do something in your world to create a housing unit that did not exist before, you will make money. Okay? And the most value added and most difficult part of real estate development is the land. You know, this dumb little lot we did was a perfect case study because it's fairly low barriers to entry. I mean, most of us, you know, we can cobble together enough to buy a house or find someone to do it with or whatever the thing is. That's not impossible. Okay? We almost doubled our money in a year because we created one lot. That's it. Okay? That's 5 times better than the S&P. Not as good as silver, but pretty good. Okay? So I think we still have a lot of opportunities. They're not going away. Okay? People are still making people, believe it or not. So that is the demand side of the real estate equation.
I just posted in the chat a source that I learned about crypto from on YouTube. You could follow him. His name is Keith D.
Oh, excellent.
I suggest looking at his content.
Yeah, I'll check it
I'd
out.
also just say that there are ETFs that invest in companies in the AI space. So if you didn't want to try to pick a winner in that space, you could find an ETF that kind of is broadly invested in that area.
Yeah, and if you don't know the language, an ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. So it's a collection of companies. That's all it is. So when I talk about the S&P 500, that's an ETF. If you're a tech person, there's an ETF called QQQ, which is all NASDAQ technology stuff. That's a lot of what I actually sold last week. But I bought it like 15, 18 years ago. It had a pretty good run. But yeah, good idea, Jeff. Now, me personally, I don't buy individual stocks. I buy funds. So you can buy a sector fund, which is what Jeff is talking about. I just bought a sector fund in this energy stuff to fix the grid. There's a million of them. Okay, you just have to kind of find what you think is going to be the one for you, and jump in. Don't have to jump big, but you have to jump. I think now more than ever, we really have to focus on what I call our value proposition, or the synonym is your offer. Okay, if you are in a business, a pipeline business, and you don't have enough in your pipeline, there's one reason for that. You have not made people an offer they cannot refuse. Okay, now, just like when I've trained tens of thousands of realtors in negotiation, they walk in the class, they go, oh, well, I start here with my commission, I go like this. That's how I'm going to win. No, it's not. Price is not the only differentiator. Look at Apple. You buy competitor products for far less that are way better, but they're not Apple. And that's because of brand and now ecosystem, the moat, if you will, the MOTE, which is part of Steve Jobs' brilliance. So this idea of I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse, I think that's going to become a lot more important in 2026, especially to garner new business. All right? So the second part of the strategy, under the banner of what do I do differently to get more results, it's really going to be in the execution part. And I think as we move into 2026 and beyond, this is where we're really going to see the adoption of AI. It's going to be in the execution piece. It's going to be in the mid-level licensed assistant, that kind of stuff. Okay? Not the creation part, but the using a machine for the redundance part. I think this is what we'll probably see first as AI becomes more adopted. Okay? Because AI at its core is what's called an LLM, a large language model. And I wrote a blog about, God, probably like a year and a half ago now, about the guys who started AI, and one of them's still alive. They went to President Kennedy in 1960, I think it was. It was 10 academics from some Ivy League school. They said, we have this idea. Could we get some money to play with this during summer vacation? That's how it started. And what we were trying to figure out was, can we teach a computer to learn? This has been going on my entire life. So why is NVIDIA the darling? Because NVIDIA was the first company to figure out how to make enough computing horsepower for this thing to work. And they have a moat. That's why they're like the richest company in the world and people are so rich. That company started in a Denny's in San Jose in like 1993, I think it was. Just people that you would never date. Weirdos. I was going to say or have sex with, but I caught myself, sorry. But, it's the revenge of the nerds, if you will. But they are the richest people in the world now because they just fell into a niche that nobody else had. And this is what has allowed AI to become what it's become. Okay, so it's not a new idea. We just didn't have enough bandwidth, if you will, to be able to do it. Okay, so now we do. Quantum computing, all that kind of thing. So these technologies that we hear about and they get in and what are we going to do and all that kind of stuff, I think we're going to see the next part of it really replace those middle and lower jobs that can be done by machines, unlike plumbing, unlike carpentry, unlike dentistry. So I think our execution, bringing AI into the fold, we're going to see a lot more of that next year. So I think that the simple question for simple people like me and maybe some of you is, how can I just start using AI to help? Not replace, but to assist. And people that do that and do it successfully, I think are going to create more efficiencies in their own business model, which allows them to go out and do more new business procurement, which is always the problem for people. I mean, I talked to a guy yesterday. He's a really good friend of mine in California. He's been a realtor for like almost 40 years. And he's like, there's this people I started with and they've got, 7 sides of a transaction and they're making tons of money and I'm not. What's the difference? I go, they got more stuff in their pipeline than you do. I said, dude, you know how to do a transaction. That's not the problem. Anybody who's been doing this for 5 years, you know how to do a transaction. You know how to solve a problem. So how do you make more money? You get more in the top, more in the funnel. You don't spend your time doing the stupid stuff that's got to be done to get it to the end of the funnel. That's working on your business instead of in your business. And I'm probably the number one criminal when it comes to that. I've never been good at it. I'm working on it. I've always been working on it, but I'm not very good at it. So hopefully I get better next year. We'll see. But I think this, looking at your business like, okay, I've got new business development and I've got execution. Those are the 2 big boxes. There's a lot of little boxes underneath. But how can I walk out next year and go, how can I be better at this? More efficient. That's what better means in this conversation. More efficient. I think that's where the AI comes into play. Let's finish up with this. When I saw my mom yesterday, she goes, you seem pretty optimistic about next year. And I said, I am. There's going to be ups and downs. There is every year. you know. But in the aggregate, I think we live in a pretty good time to be alive. And I think there are a hell of a lot of opportunities out there. I think that the wind will be at our back with Fed monetary policy in the real estate market. That's going to help move a lot more product around. And my message to you is, you know, let's keep learning. I'm glad we talked a little bit about AI today, because I think everybody's over the age of 9, I'm pretty sure. And we forget about the importance of continuing to learn. And that's one of the reasons I'm here, to give a place for all of us to come, to learn new stuff and to keep hopefully staying ahead, you know? And I think we are. I think everybody's doing pretty well. And I think next year's going to be better. I do. It's good. That's the way it should be. Let's just pray that humanity catches up with all of us, right?
Oh my God, yes.